Chapter 6. Beyond the Rising Sun. Master Riku's connection in LA was a man named Mr. Tanaka, a soft-spoken, middle-aged guy who owned a small grocery store in Little Tokyo. When I first walked into the store, the scent of dried seaweed and soy sauce instantly reminded me of home. For a brief second, I felt at ease. "Ah, you must be Kaito," Mr. Tanaka said, his eyes scanning me like he was sizing me up. I bowed slightly out of habit. "Yes, sir. Master Riku sent me." "Good. Follow me." He led me to the back of the store, where the bustling noise of LA seemed to fade. We sat at a small table and he poured 2 cups of tea. "Master Riku told me about your situation," Mr. Tanaka began. "You're here for a fresh start." "I respect that. But LA is not an easy city. It will chew you up if you're not careful." I nodded, listening intently. "First things first," he continued, "you'll need a place to stay. I know a landlord who rents out a small apartment near here. It's cheap, but decent. Safe enough for someone starting out." The apartment was simple. A studio with just enough space for a bed, a tiny kitchen, and a bathroom. The walls were plain white, the furniture minimal. It wasn't much, but it was mine. For the first time in my life, I had a space that belonged to me, and only me. Over the next few days, Mr. Tanaka showed me the ropes. Always keep some cash on hand. You never know when you'll need it. Don't trust everyone who smiles at you. This city has plenty of con artists. Never walk alone at night. Stay in well-lit areas. His advice came fast, practical, and with a hint of concern. He wasn't just looking out for me because of Master Riku. He genuinely wanted me to survive. And then I found a part-time job at a local cafe near my apartment, making enough to cover rent and food. The hours were long, and the work was tiring, but I didn't mind. Every dollar I earned felt like a step toward freedom. The contrast between Japan and LA couldn't have been more stark. Back home, life moved at a steady rhythm. There was tradition, order, and a sense of community. Here, everything was fast-paced, unpredictable. People chased their dreams relentlessly. The streets buzzed with energy. Neon signs lit up the night, cars honked endlessly, and the people, so diverse, from every corner of the world. It was overwhelming at first, but slowly, I started to love it. I'd walk around downtown, taking it all in. The towering skyscrapers, the street art, the bustling markets. It felt like a different world. And in a way, it was. One afternoon, I visited a community college nearby. It wasn't the most prestigious school, but it was a start. I walked through the campus, imagining myself attending classes, meeting new people, learning things I never thought I'd study. I picked up a brochure from the admissions office. Business administration. Something about that caught my eye. I thought about my dad, working tirelessly back home, about the hospital bills, the struggles my family faced. I wanted to help them, not just survive, but thrive. One evening, I sat with Mr. Tanaka at his store after closing time. "I've been thinking about what I want to do," I told him. "Oh, and what's that?" "Business. I want to study business, learn how to build something from the ground up. Maybe one day I can open a store like yours, or something bigger." Mr. Tanaka smiled, nodding. "Good choice. This city rewards ambition. But it won't be easy, Kaito." "I know." He leaned back in his chair, sipping his tea. "Master Riku would be proud of you. You've come a long way already." I felt a swell of gratitude. Without Master Riku, without Mr. Tanaka, I wouldn't be here. As I settled into my new life in LA, I thought about my dad's advice. Stick to the plan and don't lose yourself again. I thought of those words often. I worked hard, saved every penny, and started planning my future. There were moments of doubt, moments of loneliness, but I never gave up. Every day I woke up with a purpose, to build a better life, to make my family proud. And every night I'd think about Master Riku, his teachings, his wisdom. He'd given me more than just money. He'd given me hope. It had been 6 months since I arrived in Los Angeles. 6 months of figuring things out, stumbling, learning, and slowly settling into a rhythm. The first few weeks had been the hardest, adjusting to the noise, the pace, the sheer size of everything around me. But as time went on, I found myself growing more comfortable with the chaos. I decided to move to a new small apartment in Koreatown, a place a bit more closer to a higher earning potential. It wasn't fancy, a cramped studio with worn carpets and a sink that occasionally leaked, but it was mine. The walls were thin, and I could hear my neighbors arguing, laughing, or blasting music late into the night. Despite the noise, I learned to tune it out. One of my neighbors, an elderly Korean man named Mr. Park, would greet me in the hallway each morning with a nod and a soft, "Good luck today." Mr. Park was kind in his own quiet way. He once caught me coming home late from my part-time job, exhausted and carrying groceries. "You work too hard," he said, shaking his head. "But that's good. America respects hard workers." I smiled at that. "Thank you, Mr. Park. I'll keep going." Every day was a hustle. I also managed to take up a job as a part-time salesman at a small insurance firm. At first, I had no idea what I was doing. Selling insurance? I barely understood how it worked, but I kept my head down, studied the policies, and asked questions. My boss, Mr. Jacobs, was a gruff man with little patience for slackers, but he recognized potential. "Kaito," he said one day, handing me a binder of leads, "you've got the drive. Now show me you can close deals. Make people trust you." And so I did. I worked tirelessly, knocking on doors, making cold calls, and meeting people from all walks of life. I was surprised when I got my first commission check. It was more than I made in a month back in Japan. So this is how they do it here, I thought, staring at the check in disbelief. I started mapping out numbers, setting bigger goals. If I could sell 5 policies a week, I could make enough to cover my rent and still save. If I sold 10, I'd be well on my way to building a real future. Despite the grind, I never stopped checking in on my parents. Every few days, I'd video call them from my apartment, making sure they were safe. My mom would always cry when she saw my face on the screen. "Are you eating well?" she'd ask. I'd nod, holding up a cup of instant ramen with a grin. Of course. Gourmet meals every night. My dad, Hiroshi, would sit quietly in the background, his eyes filled with both pride and worry. He never said much during those calls, but when he did, his words stuck with me. "Don't lose yourself, Kaito," he reminded me again. "No matter what this new life offers, stay true to who you are." Those words became my anchor. One evening, Mr. Jacobs invited me to a networking event downtown. It was my first glimpse into the world of large corporations. The venue was sleek, filled with men and women in tailored suits, sipping champagne and talking business. "These people run the city," Mr. Jacobs said, gesturing around the room. "You want to make it big? Learn from them. Watch how they move." I observed everything. The way they talked, the confidence in their body language, the subtle power plays in their conversations. It was a world I wanted to be part of, but I knew I had to earn my place. When I got back home in Koreatown, LA, I opened an insurance account of my own. It felt like a small step, but it was important. I was setting up my future, protecting myself from uncertainty. Life in LA wasn't all work, though. I made a few friends along the way. One of them was Mark, a fellow salesman from the firm. He was a charismatic guy, always cracking jokes and making everyone laugh. "You've got to loosen up, Kaito," he said one night at a diner after work. "You're too serious. Life's not just about numbers and deals." I chuckled. "Maybe you're right, but I've got a lot riding on this." Mark nodded, his expression softening. "Yeah, I get it. But don't forget to live, man. You're in LA, the city of dreams." As the months passed, I began to feel more at home. I learned the ins and outs of the city, which neighborhoods were safe, where to find the best deals, and how to navigate the fast-paced lifestyle. Master Riku's connection, Mr. Tanaka, was a huge help. He was an older Japanese businessman who had lived in LA for decades. "LA can swallow you whole if you're not careful," Mr. Tanaka warned me over tea one afternoon. "But if you play it right, it can also make you." He taught me the do's and don'ts of living in the city. Don't flash your money around. Always have a plan. Network, but be cautious about who you trust. And most importantly, he said, don't forget where you came from. I never did. Every night I thought about my parents back home, about the sacrifices they made. I thought about Master Riku and his faith in me. I wasn't just building a life for myself, I was building a future for all of us. But there were moments when doubt crept in. Late at night, when the city was quiet, I'd stare out the window, wondering if Kuji and his gang still remembered me. Were they still causing trouble back home? Were my parents truly safe? I couldn't let those thoughts consume me. I had to keep moving forward. One step at a time. And so I did. I can't lie. I never imagined my life would change so fast. It had been almost a year since I landed in LA, wide-eyed and unsure of what the future held. Now, here I was, driving through the city in my first car, a used black Honda Civic, but to me, it felt like a goddamn Ferrari. Earning the money to buy it hadn't been easy. It took hustling, long nights, and mastering the art of closing deals. But damn, it felt good to see the fruits of my labor. It all started with Mr. Jacobs. That man knew the insurance game inside and out, and I soaked up every word he said like a sponge. You gotta listen more than you talk, Kaito. People don't care about insurance. They care about protecting what they love. Tap into that, and you'll win every time. I took his advice to heart. I practiced, read every sales book I could get my hands on, and attended every seminar in town. The result? I went from being just another rookie to closing high-ticket deals that made my head spin. One of my biggest deals? I remember sitting across from this middle-aged couple, Mr. and Mrs. Carter. They owned a small restaurant downtown and were hesitant about investing in life insurance. "We've been burned before," Mr. Carter said, crossing his arms. "Last guy promised the world and delivered nothing." I nodded, keeping my face neutral. I get it. Most people only hear from their insurance agents when it's time to renew. But that's not how I work. My job is to make sure you're covered, not to disappear once you sign. Here's what we'll do. I'll walk you through everything line by line, no surprises. If you're not comfortable, you walk away. No pressure. Mrs. Carter glanced at her husband. "He's different," she whispered. Mr. Carter leaned forward. "All right, kid, let's see what you've got." An hour later, they signed up for a comprehensive plan. The commission? Huge. Confidence boost? Even bigger. Another deal I'll never forget? There was this guy named Luis, big-time gym owner. Tough, skeptical, and didn't trust anyone. "I don't need insurance," he said, shaking his head. "I invest in my business, not in bullshit policies." I grinned. "What if something happens to you? Who takes over? Your family? Your employees?" "Well," he paused. "Exactly, sir. You've built something amazing. Don't let one accident ruin everything." By the end of that conversation, he was on board. Another win. With each deal, my bank account grew. For the first time in my life, I wasn't just surviving, I was thriving. Then came the day that changed everything.